At Grove 23, Michael Jordan's ultra-exclusive golf sanctuary, Caitlin Clark walked onto the green, not as a guest, but as a peer. That moment, surrounded by sports royalty, marked a silent shift in how female athletes are perceived across industries. Just days later, at the Annika Prom in Florida, Clark stunned the sports world by sinking a 35-foot putt and breaking a record that hadn't been touched by any crossover athlete before her.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
This wasn't just a basketball player dabbling in golf. It was a takeover. Between her post-injury resilience and the effortless charisma she brought to a sport she doesn't even compete in professionally, Clark made one thing clear. She's not just playing the game. She's reshaping its boundaries. The LPGA understood the moment and maximized it. Custom gear, prime scheduling, viral clips, and a surge of attention the tournament had never seen. In stark contrast, the WNBA, despite benefiting from Clark's stardom all season, remained largely quiet. The disparity spoke volumes. Clark's day on the course wasn't just about personal achievement. It exposed how some leagues still fail to recognize when their stars outgrow traditional roles. By fully embracing her multidimensional presence, the LPGA didn't just win a news cycle. It won a blueprint for the future of women's sports. Caitlin Clark just did something that turned heads across every corner of the sports world, and it didn't happen on a basketball court. During the Annika Pro-Am at Pelican Golf Club, the Indiana Fever star broke a record that had people drawing comparisons to Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Yes, those two. That's the level of impact we're talking about. This wasn't just a cute crossover moment. This was a full-blown takeover. Caitlin Clark didn't show up just to wave at cameras. She showed up and dominated. She dropped a jaw-dropping 35-foot putt while recovering from injuries that had limited her WNBA season. She hit the green with the kind of focus and athletic poise that made golf crowds, traditionally reserved and hard to impress, erupt. And she didn't do it as a sideshow act. She did it as the main event. The numbers didn't lie. The LPGA event saw record-breaking viewership and attendance. Media coverage skyrocketed. Social platforms exploded with clips of her performance. And most importantly, a whole new audience was watching. Fans who'd never paid attention to the LPGA before were suddenly tuned in because Caitlin Clark was there. That's reach. That's star power. That's the crossover effect. And Clark just set the bar. Even more telling was how the LPGA embraced her. They rolled out the red carpet. Exclusive merch, primetime scheduling, autograph signings, all built around her. They treated her like the cultural force she is. And it worked. Golf, a sport with a deeply traditional base, got a shot of adrenaline it didn't see coming from a 22-year-old basketball phenom. The contrast with the WNBA couldn't be clearer. While the LPGA was promoting Clark's appearance weeks in advance, the WNBA was silent. No formal support. No cross-promotional energy. No coordinated media. It's a missed opportunity that started to look like a pattern. Clark's crossover appeal isn't just a bonus. It's a business model. And right now, the LPGA is capitalizing on it more than her own league is. And this isn't just about a one-off performance. This is about how Caitlin Clark is reshaping the way we define what it means to be a pro athlete. She's not confined to one sport, one league, or one fan base. She's reaching everyone. Golf fans, basketball fans, casual viewers, young girls picking up golf clubs because of her. That's what influence looks like. She's not doing this alone either. Her time with Michael Jordan at his ultra-exclusive golf course, Grove 23, was a strategic career moment, not just for the headlines, but for the mentorship. Because when Michael Jordan invites you for a private round and talks brand building and long-term legacy, you listen and you learn. Clark showed up to that course in custom Nike golf shoes. That's not just a flex. That's branding. That's business. That's alignment with someone who turned a sports career into a billion-dollar empire. And the message here isn't subtle. Caitlin Clark is building something bigger. She's not just playing games. She's playing the game. The long one. Her golf performance did more than impress. It exposed a gap, A gap between how the LPGA is willing to treat crossover stars versus how the WNBA is still struggling to recognize the full potential of its own. The LPGA didn't just let her in the door. They built the event around her, and it paid off. So why is the WNBA so slow to catch on? This is the athlete every league dreams of. Talent, charisma, marketability, and a rabid fan base. She's already pulled in viewers the WNBA hasn't seen in years. But when she steps outside basketball and makes headlines in another sport, the silence from her home league is deafening. There's a real risk here. If leagues don't figure out how to fully support and amplify athletes like Clark, they're going to lose them, not in the literal sense. Clark still signed to the WNBA, but in mindshare, in influence, in moments that shape culture. Because if another sport sees her value first and treats her like the crossover icon she's becoming, that sport wins. That's what just happened at Pelican Golf Club. And it matters because of the numbers. This wasn't just feel-good buzz. It was data-driven success. Millions of views, spikes in merchandise sales, boosts in traffic across LPGA channels. That's not a coincidence. That's return on investment. Clark didn't just show up. She converted. That's the playbook moving forward. Women's sports don't need to wait to be taken seriously. They need to center the stars that already are. Athletes like Clark are the bridge between traditional fandoms and new ones, between basketball and golf, between legacy sports and the next generation. And let's not forget, she did all this while recovering from injuries. Her WNBA season was physically grueling. She took hits. She played through pain. And still, she turned around and delivered a flawless performance on a different kind of stage. That level of mental toughness, adaptability, and competitive edge, it's rare. And it's exactly why fans respond to her the way they do. The implications of that one day in Florida go beyond golf. It's a template for how to grow women's sports. You build around your stars. You amplify them everywhere they go. And you stop trying to keep them boxed into one. Roll. Caitlin Clark's rise is not just a sports story. It's a cultural shift. She's showing what happens when a female athlete takes control of her narrative, leverages her platform across disciplines, and demands recognition without apology. And she's not waiting for permission. So the real question isn't what sport she'll conquer next. It's which league will actually rise to meet her where she's already standing. She's already proven she can bring crowds, cameras, and conversation. Whether it's on the hardwood or the fairway, she's bringing numbers. And numbers don't lie. Let's hear your thoughts. Did Caitlin's golf performance surprise you? Should more leagues follow the LPGA's lead when it comes to celebrating crossover stars? Hit like if you think this was a turning point for how we view female athletes. Subscribe if you want to stay locked in on every move she makes. And drop your take in the comments. Caitlin Clark just made history again. And something tells us she's not done. Let's not underestimate what just happened at Pelican Golf Club. Because Caitlin Clark didn't just show up to a golf event. She didn't just play well. She didn't just break a record. She rearranged the conversation around what a female athlete can be in 2025. And that ripple, it's already moving through every sport, every league, every boardroom that's been slow to evolve. The message she sent wasn't just, I'm good at golf. It was, I can change the game, any game. That's not hype. That's what the numbers say. That's what the media coverage says. That's what Michael Jordan recognized when he invited her to Grove 23, his hyper-exclusive golf course that doesn't just host anyone. That's not a PR stunt. That's a passing of the torch. Jordan built an empire by turning performance into a platform. He sees that same potential in Clark. And he's not wrong. She has a rare ability to transcend the court without ever leaving behind. She's not abandoning basketball. She's expanding what it means to be a basketball star. The LPGA saw it instantly. The WNBA, still playing catch-up. The way the LPGA embraced Clark should be studied. They didn't just let her participate. They made her central. They gave her the prime tee time. They rolled out branded merch. They amplified every angle on social. She wasn't a guest. She was the draw. And it worked. Golf isn't new to celebrity appearances. But Clark didn't come in as a gimmick. She came in as an elite competitor, a cultural icon, an engine of visibility for a league that's often overlooked. The result? Record-setting viewership, attendance spikes, viral clips, a 35-foot putt that had fans and sports outlets in a frenzy for days. And still, the WNBA stayed silent. It's a baffling contrast. On one side, you have a league that instantly recognized the value of a crossover star and built a playbook around her. On the other, you have the very league she represents, her home league, treating this milestone like a non-event. There was no cross-promotion, no public congrats, no leveraging of the moment to draw fans back to basketball. It's a missed opportunity that borders on negligence, especially considering the WNBA is still in a growth phase, trying to capture the attention of casual fans. Clark has already shown she can deliver those fans. She brought millions to women's college basketball. She reignited interest in the WNBA. And now, she's doing the same for golf. How many more examples does a league need before it says, "We're all in, golf won"? Because here's what's at stake. When you fail to support your biggest star in her biggest moments, you risk losing more than her attention. You risk losing the fans who follow her. You risk telling them, this isn't the place for that kind of energy. That's not just a branding issue. It's a business failure. Clark isn't just valuable because of her talent. She's valuable because of her reach. Her performance isn't isolated to one sport, one city, or one demographic. She's activating audiences across age groups, sports communities, and cultural divides. Her appeal doesn't just cross over. It converts. And in an era where every league is scrambling to grow relevance and diversify its fan base, Clark is the blueprint. The LPGA didn't hesitate. They didn't wait for the metrics to roll in. They trusted what was obvious. They let Clark do what she does best: compete, engage, and inspire. The result? A spike in cultural currency that golf hasn't seen in years. That's not a fluke. That's strategy meeting opportunity. Meanwhile, the WNBA keeps acting like it's trying to protect her from too much exposure, as if overexposing Caitlin Clark is the threat, not underusing her. But this isn't a rookie who needs to be shielded. This is a generational brand asset, and she's already miles ahead of the league's promotional playbook. And don't get it twisted, Clark's golf performance isn't about ditching the WNBA. It's about showing what's possible when female athletes are given full freedom to be everything they can be: basketball star, cultural icon, cross-sport talent, brand powerhouse. She's not the first woman to try it, but she might be the first to make every platform bend to her presence. From media to merchandise to mentorship, Clark is doing what male athletes have been celebrated for decades for doing: building an empire while still in uniform. And if the leagues that claim to represent women's sports don't start supporting that ambition, someone else will. That's the danger. Because once a league shows it gets it, players start paying attention. Sponsors start paying attention. Fans start shifting their attention. Right now, the LPGA is showing it gets it. The WNBA, still stuck in reactive mode, worried more about controlling narratives than capitalizing on them. And that control mindset doesn't work in 2025. Fans want to follow players, not leagues. Brands want ambassadors, not just athletes. Clark is already operating at that level. And if her league won't meet her there, she'll find partners who will. You can already see the beginnings of that shift. Strategic mentorships, like the one with Jordan. Custom apparel that bridges golf and basketball. Viral content that doesn't even need a basketball to trend. That's long-term brand architecture, and Clark is designing it in real time. She's not just building her name. She's expanding the space for what a female athlete can be. The impact of that is massive. It changes how young athletes dream. It changes how media companies pitch coverage. It changes how sponsors distribute dollars. It changes what's possible. Clark's performance in the LPGA Pro-Am didn't just break a record. It cracked open the ceiling of what we expect female athletes to deliver and what they deserve in return. And the LPGA, they were smart enough to move with her. This should be a wake-up call for every other league. You don't own your stars. You partner with them. You elevate them. You listen to the audience they bring. Because if you don't, someone else will. And when that happens, you don't just lose a moment. You lose momentum. Clark isn't waiting for leagues to catch up. She's creating her own playbook. And if the sports world is smart, they'll start turning her pages instead of writing their own rules from outdated templates. So what's next? Is the WNBA going to take this as the signal it clearly is? Are they going to finally stop gatekeeping their own growth and start investing in the once-in-a-generation athlete who's carrying them into mainstream? Or are they going to let other sports and other leagues lead the way? Because Caitlin Clark has already shown what's possible. And it's not just impressive, it's transformational. What Caitlin Clark pulled off at the Annika Prom didn't just raise eyebrows, it shattered expectations. You've heard it before. She's a once-in-a-generation athlete, a cultural force, a ratings magnet. But what we're seeing now is bigger than that. She's becoming the template for crossover success, for branding, for cultural relevance, for the future of women's sports. And she's doing it without asking anyone for permission. That 35-foot putt she drained wasn't just a golf highlight. It was a statement. She's not boxed in. She's not just a basketball player. And the old rules about how women athletes have to stay in their lane, she's walking straight past them and taking the spotlight with her. The ripple effect is immediate. Golf fans, many of whom don't follow the WNBA, now know exactly who Caitlin Clark is. The LPGA saw spikes in viewership, social traffic, and engagement. That's not a coincidence. That's conversion. That's Clark doing what she's been doing since college. Pulling in crowds, selling out venues, and making people care. And it all happened at a golf event. Meanwhile, the WNBA is still slow-walking its own marketing machine. Clark's crossover moment could have been a golden opportunity to connect fans across sports, bridge the basketball offseason, and inject energy into the league's brand. But instead, crickets. While the LPGA made Clark the star of the show, the WNBA acted like it wasn't happening. No big promo posts. No league-sponsored media tie-ins. No merch drops. Just silence. And that silence says more than any press release ever could. Because the reality is this. The WNBA has never seen an athlete like Clark before. She's not just moving metrics. She's changing expectations. She's redefining how an athlete can shape the business around them, not just play within it. That kind of power can be scary. But it's also the exact kind of power leagues need to embrace if they want to grow. The LPGA figured it out instantly. They didn't hesitate. They didn't overthink it. They saw Clark's value, gave her the spotlight, and built an event around her. Not only did it elevate her brand, it elevated their brand. That's what happens when a sports organization steps up and actually bets on its talent. Now look at the results. Record-setting attention. Fans who'd never care about the LPGA before were watching, talking, sharing. Golf highlights were trending because Caitlin Clark was in them. That's how you grow a sport. That's how you expand the audience. That's how you evolve. And what makes this even more impressive? She did all of it while still recovering from injuries. After a brutal rookie WNBA season, she stepped onto the golf course with grace, composure, and a competitive edge most athletes can't even find in their primary sport. The 35-foot putt will go down as a headline, but what really happened was so much bigger than that. It was proof. Proof that Clark isn't a moment. She's a movement. And the leagues that realize that first are going to be the ones that thrive. Let's talk about Grove 23 for a second. Michael Jordan's private golf sanctuary. You don't just get invited there. That's reserved for his people, his circle, his picks. When he brought Clark there, it was about more than golf. It was about legacy. Jordan knows what it takes to build a brand that lasts beyond a playing career. He sees that in Clark. The custom Nike golf shoes? Not a marketing gimmick. That's brand alignment. Strategic visibility. Long-term vision. Clark is doing what very few athletes, male or female, have ever done. She's laying the foundation for a career that transcends sport while still being at the top of her game. She's not just playing in tournaments or putting up numbers. She's making moves. And the sports world is one, because Clark is rewriting the rules for what it means to be a female athlete in this era. She's not just demanding better compensation or more media coverage. She's creating her own. She's not waiting for league infrastructure to catch up. She's already building her empire. So when the LPGA stepped up, they weren't just celebrating a guest player. They were making a statement of their own. We see you. We respect what you bring. Let's build together. And it worked. That moment mattered. Which brings us back to the WNBA and the uncomfortable question it needs to ask itself, why didn't we do that? Why wasn't there a media campaign connecting Clark's performance in golf back to her work in basketball? Where was the clip of that putt on the WNBA's own channels? Why wasn't the league out front saying, this is our athlete, and she's showing the world what women's sports can be? Instead, fans are left to connect the dots themselves. And you better believe they notice the difference in treatment. Because here's what fans know. When a league supports its players, you can tell. When a league lets its stars lead, you can feel it. And when they don't, it sticks out. Caitlin Clark's moment of the Annika Prom wasn't just a great story. It was a test. A test of whether women's sports leagues are ready to evolve. A test of whether they're ready to amplify their stars in every arena, not just the ones they control. A test of whether they actually believe in the cultural power of the athletes they claim to support. The LPGA passed that test with flying colors. The WNBA still circling the multiple choice options. And this matters more than ever, because women's sports are on the edge of something massive. Viewership is climbing. Social engagement is soaring. Young athletes are stepping onto the stage with more talent and more voice than ever before. But none of that growth is guaranteed. It takes smart strategy, smart promotion, and smart partnerships. It takes listening to the audience. And more importantly, listening to the athletes who are the audience's gateway into the sport. Caitlin Clark isn't just a talented player. She's a platform. She's a marketing engine. She's a catalyst. And any league that's serious about the future of women's sports needs to recognize that now, not later. Because if they don't, other sports will. Other brands will. Other platforms will. And before they know it, they'll be left behind, watching from the sidelines as someone else reaps the benefits of the momentum they refuse to chase. So let's talk brass tacks. Clark's golf appearance generated real value. Not theoretical. Not speculative. Quantifiable. Viewership. Merch sales. Impressions. Attendance. That's leverage. That's proof of concept. That's the type of data most leagues dream of generating around a single event. She did it in a weekend. That level of impact should have had the WNBA scrambling to amplify the story. Instead, they missed it. Again. And if they keep missing it, it's not going to be long before fans, sponsors, and maybe even players start asking the same question. Is this league built for where women's sport are going, or stuck in where it's been? Because what Caitlin Clark just proved definitively is that the future is already here. It's athletic, it's versatile, it's strategic, and it doesn't wait around. Let us know what you think. Did the WNBA fumble this moment? Should leagues be building entire campaigns around athletes like Clark instead of treating them like static assets? Hit the like button if you saw how the LPGA capitalized. Subscribe if you want to stay on top of every turn in this movement. And drop a comment with your thoughts. Caitlin Clark made her mark on the fairway. And she didn't just change the scoreboard. She changed the standard.